Wow, I actually did it. I somehow managed to post not just one, but two poorly made videos in the span of about 2 months. All I really want to do is make videos where I talk about two specific things: visual novels and Danganronpa. Since I kinda already did the Danganronpa part and I have to wait till 2x2 to like feel any sort of emotion talking about Danganronpa, I might as well start from changing that one visual novel into visual novels. And why not start by talking about the one where this gorgeous man in my profile picture comes from? And he comes from Slow Damage, so we're gonna be talking about Slow Damage, the slow damage. Quick warning before we get into this though, this contains a lot of heavy topics such as shown on screen, not to mention gay sex. Anyways, so our story opens up with our protagonist, Towa, as he begins painting. The only thing going through his head right now is that he has to fill this canvas with this feeling of dark desire that he has before it fades away. And then it cuts to a new day where he's woken up by his friend and guardian Taku, and begins to recall how he was railed in the ass the night prior. I'm not joking. Yeah, I mean, just from looking at him alone, you can kind of tell that he's not the most normal person, especially as a protagonist for a visual novel. He's very careless towards his own life, even stating multiple times that if he dies, he just dies. And his cards kind of prove that to be true. He'll cut himself because to him, pain is what gets him going. Although, he isn't quite eager to die. Also, sex is the only thing that can lead him to pleasure just like pain. His diet consists of only booze and cigarettes. He usually hates eating, actually, unless it's coffee or honey butter toast from a cafe they sometimes go to. Luckily for him, though, Taku and his other friend Rei are very protective of him and won't let him just rot away like that. They force him to eat and even nag at him for only drinking and smoking. Especially when it's right in front of Rei's face, he fucking hates that. On top of that, Taku is also a doctor, so if something serious happens, he's there to treat him. Towa also lives right above Taku's clinic. Sadly, we don't really know a lot about his past or family, other than that his father used to be the leader of the Takusato Gumi, which is practically the Yakuza in this, up until his death, and then also his mother died when he was very young. It never really gets to him though. I mean, even when he finds out his father died on the news, he couldn't care less. They haven't really known each other in forever. Same thing with his mother. I'm gonna say this right now, Towa isn't his real name, which isn't anything groundbreaking. Everybody in Shinkumi doesn't technically really have a name, because it's impossible to get a birth certificate there and shit, so just keep that in the back of your head. And after that brief introduction of Towa, we finally get our first exploration of the city of Shinkumi. The setting of Shinkumi is an island set off right next to Japan. Compared to real life, it's set off in the not so distant future, years after Japan has hosted the Olympic Games, and sadly, it fucking sucked, leading the country into a massive debt and recession. Though Shinkumi is in a weird situation where, due to their casinos and gambling industry, the city was impacted far less by the recession. As an attempt to get money back, the government tried to build more casinos inside of it, but the only thing that came out of the land they were going to use was practically nothing. And this is where the Takusato Gumi comes in, where they buy all the land and is somehow able to prosper it into a bustling city. It's a success. Tons of people flood in for work and opportunities, but then over time, the Gumi kind of get full control of the city, and now it's practically independent of Japan. People are very much in poverty and are very depressed. The streets are filled with strippers and brothels and tons of compact condos due to the sheer amount of people who came to the city looking for jobs. There are even dead bodies slumped against the walls, and to the average person living in Shinkumi, it's just a regular Tuesday. It's not like the police will do anything about it, they just get paid off by the Takusato Gumi. Through the perspective of Towa, you get to see a lot of this, and since he doesn't really have a driver's license, he's forced to walk everywhere he goes. So he makes comments about every single area you're in. Not to mention, you also get to interact with people on the Takusato Gumi and then also just regular citizens. due to the fact that Towa used to be part of the Gumi himself, and now is just a regular chud. To him and people alike, Shinkumi is just a blend of normality and chaos. It's one of the few places you can go to buy candy cigarettes from an old lady, and then at night go to a place literally called the Deathmatch Arena and fight people for fun. And Towa wouldn't really have it any other way. For the actual gameplay part of explorations, it's pretty simple. You just click a place where you want to go on the map, a person can be there, and then you talk to them. You'll have two different ways to respond to them, and depending on what the text says on the bottom, you'll have to click which one corresponds to it. If you get it right, you'll get a few words of inspiration that can be used later on in another segment. It's pretty simple. Even me, after beating a 12-hour route, can do it. I'm fucking stupid. And after our first exploration, we finally get to meet more people who Towa knows. Particularly Mayu, Kotaro, and Eiji. These were some of his friends back when he was in the Takusada Gumi, and the three of them worked together to find people who have depths and beat them up. Mayu's a weeb obsessed with the anime girls to the point where his apartment is just filled to the brim with his waifu. He's also probably Chinese.
Ayo!
He's a pretty laid-back guy, though. And compared to Kata, ooh, I said that completely wrong almost. Compared to I can't do it. Compared to Kotaro, who's the definition of a hardhead. When you see him in explorations, he's either A, trying to find someone who owes a debt, or B, asking to fuck Towa. He's probably my favorite out of the three. He makes me laugh way more than he should, like he's even named after a dog. And then he also acts like one too. There's also Eiji. To be honest, he's kind of the most important part of the game. He's a hacker and a bomb aficionado, and he gives Towa pretty much all the information he ever needs throughout the story. Towa needs to find out where someone is? Might as well call Eiji. Towa needs help finding the past history of someone? Also Eiji. He needs help trying to escape after being held hostage by another fucking part of the Takusada Gumi? I mean, yeah, I guess Eiji's there to save him. After this brief conversation, Towa heads back to his apartment, where the next day we get introduced to the more important characters, Sakaki and Tuno. They're both important members of the Takusada Gumi, and after the recent death of Towa's father, Sakaki is now the leader of the group, whereas Tuno is just the general manager, and he does not like that one bit, and he makes that clear to literally anyone he meets. We meet both separately, and afterwards we head to the Roost. The Roost is a bar that Towa really likes going to, and hell, even Ray works here too. This place is welcome to literally anyone. Freaks, weirdos, you name it. Which leads us to the main part of the story, Euphoria. Towa does two things: work in Taku's hospital in the front desk, and also paint. For the latter, he usually paints a piece and then doesn't really care what happens to the finished product, which is when Ray usually puts it up on the Roost's website and usually hangs it up somewhere in the bar. His artist persona is called Euphoria, due to Ray randomly suggesting that one day, and since Towa couldn't care less about thinking for a name, he just went with it. Towa needs inspiration in order to paint something. He's really picky with what it is. Some people will try to message him in order to be a model, but he only accepts if he's really interested enough. What he really wants to paint is someone's own dark desire, and our first opportunity comes with a design of a wound. Towa looks on the Roosted website and finds this, and he's really curious on who could have made this. He tries to talk to the manager to figure out who it is, but due to them using a fake email or something, he couldn't quite message them. And Towa takes this to the back of his head, which means his next order of business is getting fucking drunk and passing out on the street. He wakes up in a random apartment with a strange cut on his arm. It's somehow already wrapped up in bandages too. Towa being Towa doesn't really fucking care, and he picks up his jacket to go home where Taku makes sure his wounds are okay. Flowers then start being delivered by a mysterious person to the clinic. Ray comments on that the flowers in flower language means sublime beauty, and thinking that Taku may have a lover or even himself, he sends Towa to figure out who sent it. But the guy at the flower shop kinda just says, "Yeah, I can't really tell you who sent them, ha 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 ha." But then more flowers get sent to the clinic. This time meaning, "I'm happy you're here." And then the dude at the flower shop appears at Roost. Aquina is the one who was doing it all. He's the one who sent flowers to the clinic and also made the picture that Towa saw on the website. He's a big fan of Towa, and also Euphoria, so it's a dream come true that, they're the same person. Ever since he saw Towa's scars, he's been sending flowers to the clinic. A thing that I probably forgot to mention about Towa is that he has the ability to see someone's smoke, which is their aura, in a way. He uses this to see if someone's lying or not usually, but they also just show emotion in general and how big that emotion is. If Towa were to see me, my aura would be massive. Okay, I'll go kill myself. Towa rolls down his sleeve so Aquina can see his scars more clearly, and his smoke immediately starts to brighten with excitement. So he asks the most important question ever. Can he be Towa's model? At first, Towa refuses, but over the days, Aquina appears more and more with bandages over his wrist. Towa then is like, you know what? Actually, you are model material. But not before making a snarky remark to him that says, yeah, I kinda knew you're the one who put me in your apartment when I passed out that one day. Which is one of the things I really love about this game, and Towa specifically, is that when there's something that you kinda should just know already, Towa already knows about that personally, and won't be like, I wonder what's happening here, huh? What? As you progress through the game and the story, Towa is also learning with you, you know? And it's not just this one scenario, there's multiple examples of this happening. I like that. Making this comment, though, makes Aquina scared and run off, but Towa has a plan. So he pretends to pass out again and, right into his trap. And this is now where we interrogate Aquina, and now we have to make him admit his desire. I really like how this gameplay mechanic works. You have the Euphoria gauge and the Madness gauge. Much like the exploration parts of the game, you have two different ways you can respond. Depending on what you do, each gauge can increase or decrease. You can also use your inspiration that you got earlier in the exploration route to do the same thing. In order to progress, you need to fill the Euphoria gauge to the pink line. After doing so and waiting a couple, you're able to answer a question. These usually represent their dark secret or something they're trying to hide away from you. You rip open their scars and reveal their true self. I think. The Madness gauge isn't something you really need to worry about at the beginning, but when you get to the actual routes, they will have specific endings towards Madness. I'm not going to be talking about the Madness endings in this video, but be warned, it's called Madness for a reason. But anyways, after revealing what Aquina's dark desire is, it's clear that he wants to cut someone open. It's been a dream of him ever since he was a kid, and he had this weird experience where he was cutting someone open. And they do exactly that. Towa lets Aquina cut him, and vice versa. Right before they pass out though, Towa is able to call Taku, and they are rushed to the hospital immediately. Days go by, and Towa starts working on his art piece, where he paints the dark desire that Aquina had. And that's where it's revealed that he doesn't paint models, he paints the model's dark desires. The things that they can't say to anyone else other than someone who gets them. Towa lives for the exact moment his model's dreams come true and their trace of rationality melts away like butter. There's a lot of things you can take from this, especially as you progress through the story and you have more and more stories that you're told. The one that draws me in the most, and I can clearly point out though, is the idea of obsession and desire. Towa's models show that everyone, no matter how different they are, have some sort of secret that is kind of hurting them in a way. The more and more they keep it in, they slowly start to lose themselves. They can hurt themselves or other people around them. Bottling up all that emotion and twisted desire isn't helping anyone. And so through Towa, through these euphoric moments, they're able to release that and finally get the help they need. Other than that though, it looks cool. That's the general gist of the beginning of the game. We go along with Towa as we try to find people who have the dark desire that he wants to desperately paint, which is far and few. After Towa finishes his painting, it's time to move on to chapter 2. Which actually, there's 2 chapter 2s. Depending on if you hang out with Rei or Taku in chapter 1, you'll go to their specific version, which holds a completely different story to the other one. They also build up to Taku and Rei's actual chapter. I got Taku's route first, so I'm gonna start with that one. It's the holidays now. Christmas is just around the fucking corner, and Towa Oh, he got a new email. Probably just a bot message. Skip it. As I was saying though, the holidays fucking suck in Shinkumi. Homeless people die way more often in the cold, leading to an increased amount of dead bodies on the floor everywhere. But yet again, it's just a normal season for them. At the roost though, we actually get to meet our next model already, Azakura. But we don't get to meet him immediately because he runs away because Towa is a little too pushy. Towa is immediately entranced at this guy because, I mean, what is a doctor coming to the roost for? All of these weirdos come in and a doctor to be here? He has to be hiding at least something weird. On our way home though, a kid runs past us and then Ray goes to chase after him, but then the kid comes back to Towa and then these guys beat up Towa because he won't give the kid to them. And they beat him up hard, leading him to go to the hospital. This does show a key part of Towa is that he is really passive. He doesn't really fight back against anyone. When he gets beat up, he just takes it and waits for it to be over. He's not sent to the clinic, of course, though. He's actually sent to the general hospital, and he uses this as an opportunity to figure out who this doctor was. Now we use these explorations to learn more and more about him in general. And one of the first things we learn is that he was rumored to be a pedophile, which is technically not true, I guess. I'm not gonna die on this hill. He's more religious in the sense that he's infatuated with cherubs, and he wants his own angel in a way. Upon pressing him more, we learned that he wants to put literal wings inside of a person and make them his own angel. And luckily Towa is there to stop him from doing something he would regret later, aka putting wings on a literal child. And he says, you know what? Make me your angel. And then we have this really cool CG where he has like metallic wings inside of him. I like how you can tell it was like surgically precise on how he put the wings in, but also really bloody at the same time. I really like that. The way Towa describes the pain too is also just fantastic in my opinion. Maybe this game is just showing that I'm weird. After that, Towa gets straight to painting once he recovers. As for Azakura himself, it says that he went somewhere because he was kind of insane. Honestly, I really do like his character a lot. He's definitely the biggest example I can think of what I've mentioned earlier of even the most normal people can have these dark desires. The way he describes it himself of this overbearing urge he knows it's really wrong to do, but at the same time, he can't help but think he wants to do it so desperately. I'm a really, really big fan of just how he talks, I guess. He's really cool. I find it funny, though, that the game tries to put your mental into a debate of whether he is a pedophile or not. Until the very end where it's like, you see, the reason why we thought he was a pedophile, he was just actually hanging around the pedophile place. He wasn't in the pedophile place. So, I don't know. So Azakura went to college with Taku, and Azakura was one of the best students in there. On the other hand though, Taku was a fucking bum. He would drink all the time, and hell even went to the operating room once with alcohol, and no one really fucked with him. Cut to the present, and it's now the new year. Taku tells Towa, yeah, I'm probably gonna be shutting down the clinic here and there more to study. Definitely not anything suspicious. At the same time, there's just rumors of him blatantly making drugs. Obviously, he has ties to the Takusado Gumi in some way. Towa knows this because he's been his doctor for who knows how long. He was even the one to take out Towa's eye when it was shot after a shootout. So a lot of things happen at once, and there's clearly something weird happening with Taku. He's just acting really suspicious. But he can't really get any information out of him because he's really protective of Towa. Telling this to Towa means bringing Towa and even Ray into it. That's just not the person he is. He would rather die in his grave with this secret than tell Towa and bring trouble to him. We get to spy on him though, and it's apparent that, yeah, the rumors were true. He is making fucking drugs. It doesn't even matter that he hid this from us, because Tuno comes in and injects us with an aphrodisiac. It's clear that Towa's gonna be a part of this game, whether Taku admits his wrongings or not. The aphrodisiac leads to them having some sex. Later on, they confront Tuno at the deathmatch arena with the Sakaki side of the Gumi. Tuno, though, is able to capture both Taku and Towa, and they are basically trapped inside of his special headquarters, or whatever the fuck you call it. This is where the game kind of slows down. I didn't really like this part, though, to be honest. It's really repetitive. It's just Towa talking to Taku, trying to get him to open up, and then trying to escape at the same time, which of course doesn't work. There's fucking guards everywhere. Don't get me wrong, there are some cool moments, like Towa is dressed as a woman to essentially strip him away of all his masculinity. The way Towa describes this is very unique and very interesting to read, but I will say Taku's overprotectiveness, it kind of ruins the story a bit because of how long it takes Taku to overcome this negative aspect of his life. I totally understand this is one of those things where it does take a long time for him to get over it. It has to be this way. But there's only so much dialogue I can take until I'm kind of like, can we get to the end of this? The information we get from him after he admits everything is just that his mother was sick and Tuno helped him to go to college and shit. But then once his mother died, he blamed himself and didn't really care about school. And now Tuno is forcing him to make drugs because he owes him money. Tuno's whole plan for these drugs is to basically drug everyone at an important party and turn them into zombies. Can this guy fucking shut up? He so desperately wants to take Taku Sadogumi by force. There's a segment where Taku finally admits that he's in love with Towa, and then they finally get to work together to escape this place with Eiji. The route ends with basically you and Taku escaping from the place, Tuno going to jail, and Taku being left on bail for, you know, making the drugs. And then finally, Towa and Taku are reunited, and that's really it. This was my first route, and I very much would say at the end of it, I enjoyed it very much. Yet again, I do think it was repetitive at the ending, but I can definitely accept that for what it is. I really like Taku a lot. He clearly loves Towa and deeply wants to protect him in the end, but that protection can also be a negative factor as well, and I think that's a really cool nuanced thing. You get to see his conflicting emotions through everything. The struggle to really want everything while still wanting to not cause problems for anyone. But I think over time when you play this game, you kind of just realize more and more that Taku is a really big chud. Because this problem of being overprotective and not telling anyone what he's doing continues in the other routes, because spoilers, he continues to do the drug thing. So you get diminished returns on liking Taku once you play more and more. Especially once you finally finish the game and then learn something even more crazy about him. But before we can get to that, let's go into Ray route. Now there's a gang beating up people almost to death and then afterwards posting pictures of it online. This is very bad. Sadly, one of Ray's friends is actually a victim. Ray is rightfully pissed and wants to find out who the fuck did this, and since Towa is somewhat the same as well, they kind of work together. They don't really find much progress until they find Mizuno. They think he's another victim of them, and this hits Ray right in the heartstrings. It reminds him of his old high school days where he was bullied as well. But in the end, it turns out that Mizuno was the one beating up people all along. Short story of what happens is that Mizuno was abused by his older brother as a kid. His older brother died, and now all he wants is for someone to beat him up just like his older brother. But the only person who's willing to do that he finds is Towa. Right after Ray tells him that Towa is Euphoria, Mizuno beats up Ray and eventually kidnaps both of them. He was going to beat the shit out of them, but Towa agrees to beat him up and let him be a model. Safe to say, I didn't really like this chapter the most. I feel like everything I experienced, it kind of felt basic. Also, I kind of just knew there was something off about Mizuno from the get-go. Like, it makes sense that they don't really know at the beginning, but when I see someone sit by Towa at the roost, I kind of already know that they're gonna be the next model. It happens to Aquina, it happens to Asakura, so of course it's gonna happen to fucking Mizuno. So this big surprise that we're rolling up to isn't quite surprising to me. And as much as I want to sympathize for this dude, and I do understand that it's showing how abuse leads to long-term effects, to put it in the most bitch way possible, I found Mizuno to be so annoying. Both when he's pretending to be an innocent dude, and also when it's revealed that he's evil, or fucked up. I guess it's kinda cool that Towa doesn't really care who he paints. He just cares for that dark desire, so he's willing to paint literally anyone, including Mizuno. But I think it's less appealing to me than Doctor. Yippee! The group beating everyone up is finally arrested. We are now back to the new year, and Ray is starting to hang out with us way more than he was. He's actually a really cool dude. He gets a lot of his feminine features from his English mother. His father only gives him... Yeah, his father is kind of the definition of a deadbeat. In middle school, Ray kinda knew about Towa, so when he found out that he started painting, he thought, why not get in touch with him again? Ever since that, he happily nags at Towa for smoking in his face. A key note about him is that he loves going to the deathmatch arena to fight people. It's one of his favorite pastimes to do. The main conflict of this part begins when Ray decides to take Towa outside of Shinkumi for a little bit. It's supposed to be this day of fun, to go shopping, to see the outside world for once. But the problem is, he has a debt to the Takasato Gumi. So if you have a debt to the Takasato Gumi, you're not allowed to leave Shinkumi. If you sometimes have a debt, they'll put a tag in you so they can track you down. Very much like Taku did. Which I forgot to mention, he does have a debt. I really like how it's foreshadowed in this route though, that they kind of talk about how Taku never agrees to go to the mainland, and it's because he won't reveal that he has a debt to the Gumi. Ray himself doesn't have a debt though. It's actually his father's. He's a gambling addict and somehow wasted 3 million yen on gambling. Of course he couldn't pay it back, so the Takasato Gumi somehow placed the debt onto Ray instead. Ray, being the stronger man though, takes it up on himself and tries to figure out how to pay this debt back. So secretly, on the side, he starts working something called money matches. These are fights that the Takasato Gumi run underground, where the winner gets a lot of money, but the loser literally is killed. Ray doesn't really like doing these, but he has no choice. In either scenario, he would be forced to kill someone, and it's his fault technically. It brings out his suicidal attitude. He no longer fights with purpose, and pushes himself way too far as if he doesn't care if he dies. Towa starts to bond with Ray at a way higher level than before. It's really adorable how passionate Ray gets when he's with Towa. There's truly a connection with them, and that connection leads to Ray coming to terms with how he wants to be perceived as. He wants to express his masculinity side more, which he has a previously hard time with due to his feminine features. And the mental note that his father denounces his manliness for being gay. That's why he holds a deep love for fighting. He can be physical and show the piece of himself that gets hidden away. There's this contradiction in his thinking where he admits he is terribly scared to die and yet loves the feeling of being close to death. Towa finds that fucking hot. He loves Ray's masculine side, which leads to a great romance. As Euphoria, Towa accepts Ray's desire to beat each other up, and then they have sex. The only thing they can do now is pray that Ray wins his money matches. That's until Sakaki offers Towa a bet, win a game of poker against him, and the debt is finally over. This is one of the cool uses of the interrogation mechanic. Instead of interrogating a person, you get to play mind games with Sakaki and win poker against him. This is the only time they use this mechanic in a different way, but god is it so fun. The debt's now over, and Ray somehow even won the money match that he didn't even have to. Everyone was there to watch it, even his cowardly father, in which he's forced to stare at what exactly he put his son into, which even he then starts believing in him to win. The route ends in the future where Ray has changed substantially. He now shows his masculinity with pride, and he and Towa are now exploring the world on their own romantic motorcycle tour. He talks to Towa about how he's really glad he didn't kill himself in the end, and I can't describe it better than how he says, I don't really know. This shit almost made me cry, honestly. I love him, and I really fucking love this game too. If you don't happen to play this game in the end, please watch this scene at least. This is one of the best scenes in the game. In a strange way, I really do prefer Doctor over Brother, but when it comes to Taku and Ray's chapter, it flips around and I get turned over to a Ray fan. Going back to chapter 1, Sakaki gives us a new option, Pierced in the Heart. Selecting this in the interrogation at the end leads us to Madarame's route. In this route, Aquina ends up killing himself later in the hospital instead of living. Towa says this doesn't really affect him or anything, but he does start feeling this strange discomfort. Even sex can't fix it for him. Now, for some reason, a guy from Organization 13 appears and beats the shit out of him. Towa finds that a bit odd. I would too. Skip forward a bit, he goes to the roost, and the manager gives him a familiar lighter. This comes with rumors of a ghost fighting in the deathmatch arena that is mentioned in literally every other route. Taku is strangely also missing, but that's when he gets a call that says he should go out at 2 a.m. or Taku will be killed, which once he does, he finds Taku slumped on the floor and gets knocked out. He wakes up in an abandoned apartment building, chained up like a pet dog, where he finds his captor, Madarame. Madarame is an old buddy of Towa when he was in the Takusatagumi. They used to fuck all the time. He was the only one that could give Towa what he wanted. Pain and pleasure. To me, he looks like Red from Angry Birds. But supposedly, he had died in the same shootout that took Towa's eye. Supposedly. Tuno and Sakaki just lied for PR. Madarame will now force Towa to revert back the way he was before. He never used to be this passive guy who took a beat down. He used to fight back like he meant it. This chapter is very much like watching someone get back with their toxic ex. Sadly, it's written really well. Towa gets treated like this actual dog. He's tied up with no way of escaping until he submits like a good boy. He tries starving himself, but that doesn't even work because Madarame will just feed him like a baby bird. It's so despairing to watch. Especially when the Stockholm Syndrome starts to kick in, and Towa believes this is exactly what he wants. Madarame even lets him go back to his old life, but then Towa just rejects it immediately and goes back to him. I was in shambles by the end of this because of how easy it was for Madarame to get Towa like this. He's perfectly inside Madarame's grasp, and it just breaks my heart to see. The amount of struggle Towa puts in originally, all for it to be for nothing, just because of how strong Madarame is. Madarame really wants to destroy the Takusatagumi. He makes a giant plan, and somehow Kotaro, Mayu, and Eiji are all part of this plan as well. So they shoot everyone and the whole organization collapses pretty easily, which then the main government of Japan finally seizes control of Shinkumi, and now Towa and Madarame fuck off by themselves. I don't really like this route very much. It is a very happy ending for Towa technically, yeah, but I think Towa deserves way more than to be treated like a dog this way. I just feel sad for him. Taku and Rei also just don't get a good ending either. They don't get their conflict resolved. I mean, technically, yeah, both their debts are paid off because the Gumi don't exist anymore, but still, you know, they don't have any character development. Speak of the devil, Taku has a secret in this where you think it's him making drugs again. So you're like, okay, yeah, admit you're making drugs again to Towa, and then you're like, you did what now? He just says this and then leaves. Like, okay. Like, reveal that you're planting memories into Towa and then just like, fuck off, I guess. Okay. But don't worry, the last and final route of this game clears everything up. After you complete all 3 routes, you get another selection in the menu called Ball Jointed Doll, where you get to start from the very beginning. So chapter 0 is really short. It's just the tutorial guy where he drinks blood from people. So Towa just lets him do exactly that. The only shocking thing here is that you actually have to do the madness ending for him other than the euphoria gauge. Doing the euphoria gauge just leads you to the main game again. But if you do the madness gauge, you go to Towa feels like shit waking up in the morning. He wakes up again to Taku telling him to get his ass to work. He gets down there, but this time there's a oddly strange package waiting for him. One that is the key to the entire story of this game. A stuffed bunny, pages including the names of people Towa painted in the previous chapters, and pictures to coincide. Remember, this is the start of the game again, so he knows completely nothing about these people. Regardless, that's really fucking strange and ominous. What do these mean? And who the hell sent this? The game continues as before, up until Towa wakes up in Queena's apartment. For some reason, he thinks it's a good idea to stab himself and then also jerk off on the bed. I'm not joking, this is exactly what he does. I can't defend this. Sometimes your goat gotta do weird things, I don't know. This leads to Aquina realizing that he's Euphoria way faster than before, and yeah, you know how the rest plays out. That kinda checks off Aquina for being the one who sent the box, because the motherfucker didn't even know who he was. Towa gets another package with the business card of Asakura, so he meets with him and then a lot is explained. For some reason, he was forced to cut a kid in the exact same spot the paper said. But why would that be the case? We can't talk to the other two people who are involved in this because Mizuno's brother is dead already, and Aquina killed himself again. Afterwards, Asakura is drugged into an overdose as well. Taku is also overprotective as ever, burning our mail so we don't learn about our past. That pisses Towa off a lot. Sure, he's doing it to protect us, but that's Towa's history, not Taku's. He should be able to learn it if he so desperately wants, no matter how bad it is. And the trail kinda goes loose until we meet him. Fujieda. Fujieda is a lawyer that works for the Takusado Gumi. Sometimes in the other routes you see random glimpses of him here and there. But now it's time for him to come into the spotlight and be the best love interest for Towa. Fujieda is looking for his long-lost sister, and for some reason, his sister had the same exact doll that Towa got in the mail. What's shocking is though, Fujieda is looking for a place called Euphoria. Ring any bells? Ray got the name Euphoria from Towa's pocket watch that sits on his easel. It used to belong to Towa's mother. Euphoria relates to the establishment that Towa's mother used to run. So they get working together. It's clear that Fujieda doesn't really like Towa that much, and is only doing it because their interests probably connect together in some way. Upon interrogating someone who worked for Towa's mother, it's revealed that actually it was a terrible place to be. It was a brothel where Towa's mother, now known to be Maya, would help people reach their dark desire. But this included children. Yukizomi Mei, Fuji's sister, was a part of these kids. While most kids fell to despair and grew lifeless, she was the one ray of light who could never give up. With the boy who she would always be around, she tried to escape, but in the end, she was killed. This bombshell devastates Fuji, and albeit he does do terrible things to Towa for that reason. I mean, if he can't harm Maya herself, the best thing he can do is look at Towa and do something to him. But it's Towa, he's been through this thing far too many times already. He's very passive about it and kinda likes it. This is something that Fuji will greatly regret later, is what I will end on, and they will definitely make up after this. For snooping inside the Gumi's business, Fuji's entire building is blown up. But Towa, with the help of Eiji, yet again my goat Eiji, is able to go into the building at night and recover any evidence he can find, including a picture of Yukizomi Mei herself. It triggers something in Towa's head. There's something about this picture that he remembers so fondly. Every time he pushes for more and more information, his head keeps telling him to stop and not to go further. He even learns his real name, and he gets a pain-splitting headache again. All these warnings, and he still forces himself to learn more. He has to. What could be at the end? Yeah, Madarame is a fucking chud. There, I said it. He kidnapped Taku again, and Ray, instead of fighting in money matches in this route, Sakaki orders him to fight Madarame and keep him at bay. Yeah, it's very weird. For some reason, Madarame has the superpowers of Broly. He wins like a 1v3 against them. It's very fucking crazy. Fuji and Towa go to Deathmatch Arena to go save them, but that's what Madarame wanted all along. He wanted Towa to see one thing and one thing only. Right there lies Euphoria. Both Fuji and Towa go inside, and Towa is clearly having a lot to deal with. Going up the stairs more and more and finally reaching the giant door in front of them, it's revealed that alongside Yukizomi Mei, Towa was also one of the children used in Euphoria. I hid this away. Towa does state that he does have a sister, but she died when they were both very young, so he hardly remembers her. She hardly comes up though. It's revealed now though that this so-called sister was actually Yukizomi Mei all along. That's why he has a memory of a sister, is because she was the reason Towa mentally survived in that place for a long time. She was a shining ray of hope, and that has a long-lasting effect on Towa. Even when all his memories are gone from past trauma and such, he still remembered her in some way. The boy she tried to escape with was actually Towa himself. His own mother did that to him. It's very heinous to hear. I think this game does a good job of giving this information slowly but surely. When it's time to reveal all this stuff about Towa, the game suddenly changes into more of horror than a really creepy reveal of Yukizomi Mei. I swear I thought I was gonna get a screamer here. And all you can really do is just feel fucking terrible for Towa. And then you kind of realize more and more that this event in his life impacted a lot of his personality. He can't even believe anything he remembers now, and I don't really blame him. He starts to question his whole reality and why he even deserves to be alive after someone who was so full of life and joy sacrificed their own life in order for Towa to just rot away in his daily life. He attempts to kill himself by dousing himself in paint thinner and lighting himself and paintings on fire. Thankfully, Fuji is there to stop him from doing something he'd regret. Fuji is quite similar to Towa. The game talks about this all the time. He has scars just like him, not to mention the trauma and regret relating to all of this mess. Now, while they are different types of trauma and regret, they still suffer from the same tragedy, from the same monster. And Fuji realizes that. He realizes that he shouldn't be hating Towa. He should have been hating Maya all along. Maya is the villain. He forgives Towa for everything he did. And then he also realizes that he truly cares for Towa. So they shower and then fuck. Anyways, more lore dump real quick to speed you up. Maya died because of Towa pushing her down the stairs. She was quickly hospitalized for a short period of time, and during that time, someone in their late 40s was helping her while she mostly spent her time writing in her diary. She then died later in the hospital. But go back for a second though. A man in his late 40s who has to be part of the Takusado Gumi. Yeah, Sakaki. They go to question him, but they get tricked, and Eiji of all people randomly appears to slam gas bombs in their face. Eiji is a weird character at the end of the story. Right now, he's moving Towa to Euphoria for Sakaki's plan because he believes that Shinkumi should stay the way it is. A balance of chaos and order. But there's way more to him later, so I'll talk about him at the end. Towa is placed back in Maya's room and has another panic attack while Sakaki plays voice recordings of his mother. It drives him insane, and all he can remember now is her voice, specifically stating, "That's okay." Sakaki comes back in and reveals that Maya was a master manipulator, and that's how she got so much power. He worships her to insanity. Just listen to this man speak. You don't even need to speak Japanese to feel it.
マヤと寝たのか。
見くびるんじゃねえ。ただひたすら神々しいんだ。全てにおいて完璧だった。
He believes that as soon as Maya died, Shinkumi went to shit, and it's all Towa's fault for killing her. His plan is pretty simple, to make Towa the new Maya. But then Fuji arrives and says, "Towa, don't do that, that's fucking stupid." And then Towa's kind of like, yeah, you're right, and chooses himself over Maya. There's this giant fight scene that ends with Sakaki being so obsessed with Maya that he chases her old pendant off the cliff and dies just like her. And that's the end of everything. The Takusado Gumi falls apart like in Madarame's route again, and everyone is quite happy. Oh yeah, Eiji. So Eiji was a undercover cop the entire time. He worked for Japan and was basically undercover in Shikumi. But he did believe everything he said in the end. He did believe that Shinkumi was better when Maya was still around. But like, I guess you can forgive him. He's literally the reason why like everything happens in this game. So thank you, Eiji. I also fuck with his like real face a lot. It's really cool when he pulls off the goggles in the end. Eiji gives one last gift to Towa, and it's a key card that allows him to open up the one final room in Euphoria. It appears to be Maya's old workspace, and in it they find two valuable things: Towa's birthday and Maya's diary. It lists every single crime she has committed, but also one final message. It reveals a lot about her as a person. It shows her vulnerability even as a sociopath. She can't really love. She's all alone in this world and has failed as a mother to love her child. And it just feels so bad for Towa, man. I don't know. And that's why I believe Fuji is just the best man for Towa. He knows the emotional baggage that comes with this, and he truly does love Towa at the end of this route. It makes me very happy to see him happy with Fuji. Just look at them at the beach. A lot of the things in the future happen as well. Of course, Taku turns himself in again for making drugs, leaving the clinic closed. That meant Towa can move in with Fuji and work alongside him, while Fuji tries to reinstate his trust to the public eye after it's admitted that he was working with the Yakuza. Towa also starts having a way better life. I mean, they even have like a little spiel about how Fuji's really bad at making breakfast, and Towa, of all people, is somehow better at making breakfast. The guy whose daily routine was waking up and taking a swig of booze. Like, holy bum. The story ends with one note that the painting in the middle of the menu turns out was a real painting. It resembles Towa in a way. Much like him, it goes from the black blank canvas, just like Towa at the beginning of the story, and over time turns into something way more. He's able to see life the way it is now. For once, he feels alive. And that's slow damage. Like I said before, there are a lot of other endings in this game, such as the madness endings or the endings where you like fuck Mayu. But for the main story, I love it. The way you individually experience Taku, Rei's, and Madarame's routes first, and then you go in depth about their personal problems and importance to the story, which then all leads to the real ending where Towa gets to understand his own trauma, and everything else comes together. It's one of the coolest ways I've seen a story be told in a visual novel. Also, not to mention, all these characters in this game are written like perfectly. I have no problem with how they're written, it's just how they act are so annoying sometimes that I hate them. But they're written in that way, and I think that's cool. There's so many themes and hidden messages in this game that I can't wait to revisit when I'm older and just see what I get out of it personally. Will I be more like Towa? Hopefully not. Speak of the devil though, it brings me back to my original statement by talking about the one where this gorgeous man in my profile picture comes from. Why the fuck do I have Towa as my profile picture? He's fucking hot.
This is the Tanaka Empire!